In a special presentation of the Squatchers Lounge podcast, David and the Reverend Jeff are joined by Justin Smeha, Sasquatch Killer, and a very new friend of ours, the Mighty. Stelio Cantos! That's right, straight from Kinko's, kicking ass in the high Sierras. This is your expedition recap, Squatchers Lounge style. And now I give to you the man who brought us all together to the danger zone. I want to get you, the Reverend Jeff Kelly.
Wow, that's right, everybody, and thank you for joining the Squatchers Lounge podcast. I am indeed your host, the Reverend Jeff Kelly, and we did actually survive the Sierras yet once again. With me, as always, is the infamous Dr. David Patdorf, pseudoscientist. How you doing, buddy?
Infamy. That's what I'm going for in life.
That's right. Mr. Poo-Poo on everything Bigfoot. David Patdorf's got some shit to say.
I've got the poo-poo platter for you.
That's right. Also with us tonight is Jonathan, Mr. Stelio Cantos himself.
Good evening,
straight off
fellas.
the expedition. And Justin, the Bigfoot Slayer Smeha, straight from his deck with Cooper, the 20-mile wandering dog. We'll definitely tell that story tonight, too. How you doing, buddy?
Great.
All right, so here we go. Everybody knows that we just literally Sunday got back in the cars and drove home 5.5 hours from the Sierras doing 55 miles an hour in my poor Jeep. Yeah, we ran into a little mechanical problem on the way up there, but damn it, we didn't let that stop us. That's right. We drove 55 miles an hour all the way from San Francisco Bay all the way out there to Cold Lake, and boy, was it damn worth it. We had a whole bunch of people that showed up. David, what did you think of the crowd that showed up that we actually had?
You know, I was really, when you put out an invite like this, you could potentially have a train wreck. We ended up with some really good folks, and we all got along. There were no real personality conflicts, and we had a good time. I mean, we really did, and I was really impressed with how well we all got along.
Yeah, it was kind of scary when we invite some guy named Stelio Cantos. We don't even know the guy's friggin' real name until he shows up. Well, that's not true. I actually knew who he was.
Yeah.
But, dude, it was kind of
I just thought he was going to kick my ass the whole time.
Yeah, we kept looking for the apron to come off and, the music to start. But thankfully, we didn't have any bullying going on, so we didn't anybody goes up there. We all showed up to Bassett Station about noon the first day, and everybody showed up there, 1:15 or so. We finally got up and moving into camp, and I got to ask you, John, what did you think of our camping location choice?
I thought it was great because it was out there. It wasn't.
I mean, you already drove 10 miles into the forest before you got to Bassett's,
yeah.
And then we went, 3.5 miles in and up. But your poor car was kind of the hang-up for this particular trip. The old Scion TC.
It was the weakest link.
Yeah,
Right.
it
Talk
definitely.
Talk about being specific on location, by the way.
Yeah, I know. You want to give out the coordinates there, Jeff? And
Well, no, absolutely not. I'm not even worried about that. Bassett Station is in the middle of everything up there. I mean, if you want to know what's going on, you go ask them ladies inside the diner there, and they'll tell you all about it. At least they were telling us about it now.
yeah.
But so we get up there and set up the camp, and it was early afternoon as we're getting settled and getting the campfire stuff together, and I don't know what to tell you. It just kind of had a creepy, squatchy feeling. What did you think of it, David?
It was a great spot. I think there's a lot of really good area around there. Obviously, I mean it's in the thick of everything. Up on that ridge it's a great lookout. There's a lot of good spots, and I'd like to go back and do like a full-on grid pass on that place because there's a lot of really cool stuff up there.
Could spend a month on that exact location. Now, Justin, you've been hunting over on that side of the mountain for like ever. What made you point us in that direction over there?
That was kind of one of those spots that I just forgot about that I had. Like, you end up with a bunch of cards kind of when you're hunting, and you'll play this hand or play that hand, and you end up with a lot of spots after a bunch of years. So that was just a spot that I had on the back burner. That turned out to be a really good thing. We were there, 5 minutes, 5 seconds, and then Cooper He disappeared, like, real good. Like, I let him run sometimes at camp or whatever, but usually he figures out where camp is. In this case, he just took off. I opened the door, he's gone.
Boom.
Yeah, 7 hours
Yeah,
later.
7 hours later, like, you know, I'm one to, like, you know, like, I trust the dog, you know, usually, like, I don't even know Cooper, but, you know, I mean, he's an outdoor dog, you know, you got to trust that he knows what he's doing. But after about hours 6 or 7, and just, you know, kind of watching
It's getting
Justin
dark.
get more,
And
yeah,
Yeah,
Justin
just
get more and
about
more
dark.
nervous. He's like
Yeah,
firing
I kept,
shots
like,
off the
having to
hill.
reassure myself. I was like, just so you guys know, the dog's coming back. It's totally not.
Right, yeah, he's
Totally not. It's
assuring us
not
that
a
his
problem
dog's
at
coming
all.
back.
Yeah, the dog
over
is
and
coming
over.
back, but I'm gonna go
So I
out on
ended
the
up driving up
quad
the road.
Yeah, we about hour
Yeah.
5 we set off
The
on the
dog's
quad
coming back.
looking
It's
for
not
him.
an issue. But I'm going to go look for him. So I drive up the road, and I got his little whistle. I'm blowing his whistle. And then I come back to camp. A couple hours later, I'm like, all right, okay, well, I'm going to drive again. So I drive, get the shotgun, blast some shots in the air. Normally he comes running when I shoot. Nothing. So I drove 5 miles one way, shot. Drove a couple miles the other way, shot. Couldn't find him. He was gone pretty much. Dark setting in. You can barely see. The sun's starting to set. Actually, it had already set. It was pretty dark.
Yeah,
Just
it was
about,
already
and
dusk.
I turn around, and he's running up the road. Or we thought we heard him bark. Then he ran up the road, and, man, he was scared. You could tell, like, his experience wasn't a good one.
Yeah,
I mean,
he didn't even want to come back into camp. I mean, Justin's sitting right there. He didn't even want to come into camp.
So I have no idea whether he saw a bear or perhaps something more extraordinary. But
I think he spent the
did
whole
not
day with the
leave
group of Squatches. I think he spent the whole day with a group of them, just hanging out,
family.
eating with them.
Yeah,
They fed
hanging
him.
out with a Bigfoot family, you know, chewing some tobacco, doing whatever he's doing. But the fact of the matter is, to be honest with you, Cooper never left camp again.
No,
For a dog who
not
likes
at
to wander
all.
off and run off as much as he can, he never, like, if there was a human being awake, Cooper was glued to their side. He was just right there the whole rest of the weekend, which we didn't have to go looking for him. But it goes to question, boy, what would the GoPro footage have shown had we actually had one of that back?
That
while he
would have been
was
an
gone?
epic tour around that whole mountainside. You could just review that footage, and it would have showed you everything that was out there.
Now we get up there into camp, and you know, there's a big meadow where everybody parked, and then, you know, we camped up in the trees because, you know, of course it's going to be hot up there, so, you know, you get your crap into the shade in the daytime. That way you can actually sleep some during the morning, because these nut jobs were up all night long. Now me, I'm down for, you know, till about dark, 10, 11 o'clock, and then the altitude sickness knocks the crap out of me, and I say, sayonara, and go hang out in my hammock and listen to the woods for about 10 minutes before I pass out. But what was going on the first night out there at the fire, David?
I turned in pretty early that first night as well.
Yeah, it was a long drive, early start, that was for sure.
But, the first thing I noticed about that spot, which was really interesting, is how, like, because it was exposed and because it was in that you know, California, like, high altitude sun, is how warm it stayed all night. It was one of the experiences that Justin had that first night when he was going around looking for Cooper, was that it would literally, he would drive down the hill and it would just it would drop 20 degrees. You think the higher you go at night, the colder it's going to be, but it like, you know, was legitimately like 15 or 20 degrees colder down there, because that heat just like settled into the bare ground that was not shaded. There was, yeah, and it was nice. It was cozy. It was a good spot for camping, for sure.
It really was. I mean, it was literally 20 degrees warmer by 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning. And it stayed that way till almost 1 o'clock in the afternoon, until everything became about equal. And then it would retain the heat at night. It was a beautiful thing. We never got cold. It was actually great. So, Jonathan, you're sitting out there at the fire the very first night. What did you think of night one out there?
Night one was pretty basic as far as, like, you know, I mean, we'd hear little sounds and pops, and for the most part, it was just interesting to see.
Sounds of the forest.
The sounds of the forest, that's it. And it was mostly interesting to see, you know, the routine that like Justin and the other guy John that went to with the Knox doing the calls and the coyote caller and all that stuff. It's really interesting to see how they go through their same routine from different places, and wait for success. But yeah, we all turned in pretty early that night.
Yeah, that first night was a good getting to know you. That's what I always expect. If you get a group of people that you don't know, because oftentimes, because I don't have a lot of good friends up here that go and do this. If I join a group of people, I'm kind of the odd man out, or it's a big group of people. But that first night is always kind of the getting to know you and chit chat and feeling everything out and doing a couple things and seeing listening, seeing what happens.
Yeah. Now I noticed absolutely nothing. Now we did check for prints. We checked for tracks. We checked for impressions all over camp before we went, and did anything pretty much. We went and set up camp. We set up tents and everything up above us. Everybody had kind of gone around and checked camp to look for any kind of animal signs, deer track, bear track, raccoon track, whatever we could find. And really, outside of the deep, older deer impressions, we didn't find much. Justin, what was your impression on the animals there?
I wouldn't be happy hunting there. I mean, you'd hope that you could walk in any direction and see poop. Instead, we were seeing deer tracks. Well, tracks you could tell were days old. Lots and lots of deer tracks. Hundreds, but you could tell that they hadn't been in there very often. There was some animals in there, but it wasn't the right elevation to be where the deer were or to be where the bear were.
Yeah, I think that it was so during the day and even in the evening, but during the day specifically, it was so hot that I think everything kind of went down into the hill, into the shade, and where they could cool off and get a drink versus staying up where us stupid humans were. But yeah, it was still. I mean, it is a great spot, and I would love to go there in different types of weather too.
Well, when you're up at 6,500 feet, that's about where we were at. Then it's going to be an area where they travel through it. They don't live there. And
they're using the resources there.
There was a lot of animals around, just not. I like to see 5 or 6 times that amount. I over the whole weekend, I might have seen maybe a dozen deer and 1 bear. And that was it. I mean, that was.
Well, and part of the issue was where we were actually camped was not conducive to seeing the animals. I mean, we had high brush all the way around camp, and to the north we had a rising path up to the ridge. So really, there was only 2 things that you could see from camp inside of it anyhow. So that does kind of cut our chances of seeing the animals off. And as the evening cooled off, I remember as the campers arrived on Friday night that they had said that they had just seen a whole herd coming up the hill.
Yeah.
Okay, so we get in past night 1. Day 2, we go back out and we check for tracks and we're looking around, and you guys go off for a hike to go discover something. What were you looking for, Jonathan?
We just went up. You talking about night 2 or night 1 still?
I was talking about day 2 when you guys went out for your long hike in search of the mine path.
The mine path, yeah, we walked out there, and you're referring to the that sign out there?
The 1001 mine.
Yes.
How creepy was that? Now, Justin and I had found this creepy little sign in this gate when we were out exploring, when we were looking for a campsite, and all the sign says is the 1001 mine. The book lied. People are here. So these clowns go set off and go out to find this place, and what do you end up finding?
It looked like someone was still there, or would use it as their kind of, I don't know, weekend spot or whatever, something like that. There was wood that looked like it had been burned recently, and but it's just this creepy little place.
Like the kind of place that they talk about in horror movies. David, what was your
there was a little bit further explanation on that sign that said, it was used through 2005, but it definitely looks like it's been used more recently than that. It had the full setup. I mean, there was a clothesline that wasn't the trees weren't growing into it fully. The fireplace looked like it had been used. I mean, there was actually somebody is actually maintaining and bringing stuff up there, because there's a back end of a semi up there that looks like it was recovered from some sort of a wreck, and pieces may have been taken off of that to put on as siding on this little shack that's out there. The creepiest part, though, is when you walk around the corner, you can see in the window of this shack there's a chair that looks directly at the road. If there was somebody sitting in there, it would have been, "Get off my land."
What you doing here, claim jumper?
Yeah, seriously. But yeah, no, I mean, like straight up, there was a bathtub just laying on the ground outside of the cabin with a water line, going downhill, so that they could actually probably fill that up and take a bath and do all sorts of other stuff. And so this is something that's definitely been used. And after being there for about 30 seconds, you feel like I should probably not be here, because this is some straight up off-grid shit, right?
Probably time to go. So we get everybody back to camp, and the idea is everybody meets back in camp long before dark. We're sitting around eating dinner, and we let the sun go down. And as the sun goes down, the woods, as lots of people say, take on a creepier feel. What is it about Bigfoot that it only lives in the woods at night? Well, it doesn't. Friday morning, we're sitting around the table reviewing some audio and things from the night before, and lo and behold, Justin, John, and I are in the cab or in the trailer of his cab over, and all of a sudden, this freakiest unknown wail comes out of nowhere. We had been sitting there talking back and forth. All of a sudden, we all went quiet, and this wah echoed off of the ridge behind us. And we did actually happen to catch it on audio, but we're still reviewing, and we've got to work with that stuff because it was definitely not up close. But Justin, what were your thoughts on that morning?
It was cool that all three of us were able to hear it. I mean, there was something there. It wasn't a person. So, what was it? Why would they do that? Did we bother them? I mean, was it a hello?
Yeah, right. Well, or was it, Mama Squatch calling the babies home, time to get wrapped up and, get put away before the heat comes on us? Who knows? So, the second night definitely took on a much creepier feeling, as everybody's now realizing that, there are animals around here. There are things that go bump in the night. And, wood knocks start to happen. Is that right, Stelio?
Yeah. What happened was that most people had turned into bed. And me, David, and who was it? A kid named Cameron stayed up. Yeah, deciding that we're gonna pull an all-nighter. We're gonna stay up all night and really do this. And I just mentioned to David. I said, I've never been in a forest in my life that's been this quiet. There wasn't an owl. There wasn't a nightbird. There wasn't a breeze. I mean, there was absolutely nothing. You can stay quiet for minutes on end, which we were, and hear zero other than the crackling of the campfire in front of us.
It was really crazy. Like the air was still, and being up on top of that ridge, sound travels down. So like most of that sound, you're really only hearing. It's kind of like an isolation chamber, and it was really kind of creepy that way for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And the night before, we had heard everything that you were talking about, owls and night birds, and no crickets or frogs, but we definitely heard the screech owls going off as well. So that night was much quieter. Go on.
And it was about I think we clocked it out like 4:17 or something like that in the morning, and we were just sitting there in total silence. It was still dark, and we just hear this. I mean, the woods make some sounds. We all know what they do, but we hear this insane. It sounded like a Louisville bat on a hard tree, from right up on the ridge, and we all just kind of froze and looked at each other, and. When something like that happens, you immediately start coming up with plausible explanations in your head, and it's like my mind just drew blank. But I don't know, David, what'd you think of that?
I mean, it's definitely interesting. I've heard a lot of things in my time in the woods, and that's annoying. It was loud, but it's not something that I can immediately attribute to Sasquatch, because as the trees shift, we know there were a lot of bugs up there and stuff like that. We actually saw a bunch of trees when we were out at that caves area. We'll talk about that too. That were actually cracked and leaned over on each other, like big trees that were just cracked and leaned over on each other from termite damage and things like that. So it's hard for me to just put a Sasquatch out there, and that's how my brain works all the time. I just can't put a Sasquatch out there.
But in fairness, what did you say to me? You said, well, it was mechanical.
Mechanical, and I've been trying to think of what that means for a few days. I don't know. Mechanical.
He meant something did it.
There's
alive, not trees.
Well, mechanical meaning like that one thing hit another thing. you know,
No.
versus a tree pop. No, that's like that's you know like it definitely sounded like something hit something else, but it did like versus a tree just creaking or whatnot. But it's
What got me is I've heard a tree fall over, like a small branch. Something you hear a thud after. It's not something that's just one solid. You know, that's what had me going personally. But I mean,
yeah.
Now, as that night went on, you guys finally did turn in before dark, if I remember correctly, because I got up at first light. Most mornings I was up at first light, stirring up the fire and getting a little warm and seeing what's going on. And I walked past Jonathan's tent and didn't happen to find him in it. Now why was that, Jonathan? Tell us what happened.
well, night one actually was the night that
Was that night one? Okay.
I don't know. I felt like I heard something strange behind my tent, and I'm not saying it could have been anything. It could have been
You
anything,
scared
but it
yourself
was
more
a
than
weird.
anything else.
I scared myself more than anything, but it was one of those creepy situations, you know. And be it what it be, you know. I guess a couple days after this trip, now you're able to isolate what the important parts were and what the non-important parts were, and I categorize that in the non-important parts. But it was something. It was enough to make me get out of my tent and go, you know what? I'm not playing this. And I shined my light there and everything. I didn't see it, and I slept right behind a spot that there was 2 trees behind me, and then it would fall off, and there was a dirt road right there, and it was enough for me to want to go check if there was tracks and everything. Like I still think there was something there, whether it be a deer, which we didn't see deer, but I mean it could have been a deer, could have been a squirrel, could have been anything, but there was something there.
Definitely
There's something on the hill.
There's something in my tent. You know, the sad thing about it is, you know, David and I are sleeping behind him by about 20 yards up on the hill. We're the furthest ones out away from everybody. We're basically isolated from everyone in Hammock City, and we're both over there just snoring away, boy.
Yeah. Which I heard you.
Nobody really gives 2 craps. Now, Mark was up there. Mark was one of the campers that came up with us, and it was very, very awesome, dude. And James and Cameron were also there with us as well. Very, very fun people.
Mm.
But they they didn't really know what squatching was all about, and they thought it was more interesting that we were trying to draw in the animals to come take a look at us so that we can catch them peeking on the therm rather than running around in the woods like they do on Finding Bigfoot, trying to find them in their natural habitat. You know, what were your thoughts on the techniques that we were using out there?
I thought it was really cool because, I mean, you use a coyote caller, and that coyote call, I mean, it's got certain calls on it that full-on just sound like a woman screaming. But, you know, so that it was creepy and stuff, but then the knocks, and then, you know, they carried out this process for on and off for an hour or two, and my thought was that whether these things do knocks and calls, this camp was interesting sounding. I mean, we had people yelling and talking and around the campfire, and you know, if I were anything out there that was even just a little curious, I would come and definitely want to scope out.
Now, Justin, is that what the idea is to be curious in camp enough to draw these things in from a distance to come take a peek at you?
Well, in this particular area, yeah, we're way out there, but we got campers. You're in the woods, and every couple miles you're going to have campers in an area like that. And so we have to distinguish ourselves from the other campers or the cabins that might be on the outskirts of the forest. This is my thinking, at least. So how are you going to stand out? Everybody goes to the woods, they get drunk, they make a bunch of noise. Okay, so we got to be even more creative than that. We have to either make more noise, we have to get the coyotes going, we got to make the wildlife call to them. We got to make it seem natural. So that's my idea. I do the coyote collar, drive up the road, do some knocks, howls, do whatever, walk up the road. Get as far as you can away from camp and then work it back into camp.
While there's still people in camp, so that there's still something interesting to see in camp, while these guys are out with the thermals trying to zero in on anything, trying to get a sneak peek. Now, what were your thoughts on the techniques used, David? I mean, they're definitely unconventional in a lot of ways.
Yeah, well, I think in a lot of ways they are fairly conventional. I think that's what a lot of folks do. They do. Some people are just continue to move around. I think staying in one location is a good idea. But I definitely think that finding out. I always want to know why, we're in a location. I feel like that we could have done a little bit better job of doing like that kind of preliminary, like where are the points of interest? Why are we here? What are we looking at? And maybe moving specifically at night into those areas, or during the day into those areas to see how they're coming through at night and things like that. I think that there was a little of the back end of that I would have liked to have done differently if I had been there again. I mean, it's not easily accessible to me, so I was just kind of like, I just go with the flow or whatever. I think a lot of that, you're not going to go if you want to have an experience. It's better it's more likely that that's going to come to you. But for me, looking for sign and things that are there, it's definitely better to be proactive and to go to those points of interest and look to see what's been there.
Now, Saturday was the day that we mysteriously started finding impressions in camp, was it not? When we got back from our adventure, we went out Saturday morning and we went adventuring. We went up to Mills Peak. We took the 4x4 trucks and we drove all over the place and went wheeling up to Mills Peak. And oh my God, people, I got to show you this. This place is absolutely insane to look at. Justin goes, hey, we're going to do this. We're going to go load everybody up and see how this works out. Well, it worked out pretty friggin' crazy. Let me bring up the pictures of David standing up there by Mills Peak. Basically, it's a tourist destination at the top of the world, is at least what it seemed like to me. Justin, what's the deal with Mills Peak, man?
It's just a fire lookout house that's pretty high up there.
Yeah, pretty high. I couldn't even get to the top of it. It was so high.
They got these stairs, and you walk up these stairs, and you drive in the car, you get a lot of hints that you're kind of on the edge of a cliff, but you don't really fully know. And then you're walking up these stairs to this house that looks like it should be on an island or something, like a Victorian. You're walking
I've got a picture of it up right now.
These stairs, and then all of a sudden, you get to the top and you look over. And it's not like there's like that safety rail ain't going to hold you. It's like you're right there. It's hard not to lose your breath for a second and then realize, wow, okay, here's where I'm at.
Yeah, me not being able to stand that sort of heat, the pounding wind that comes up a bluff like a drop off like that. I just stood there and I just was like, air myself out. I needed that breeze. It was cool though. We went up there and I actually went and made a phone call, but the fire ranger was actually showing everybody how to use. They had a big lens-addict compass up there for fire spotting and how to use the grid. And it was kind of cool. I mean, there's an actual ranger that actually lives up there and actually does what he's supposed to do, which is fire spot. And
he locks his toilet like a dick.
That too.
What was cool though is, I mean, you can look out from that lookout and actually see Lassen Volcanic National Park way out there. You could see one of its peaks covered in snow. So that was 70 miles away. So this goes to show what a beautiful view we had.
Pretty good view, yeah.
Yeah, that's absolutely crazy. So we get down from there and we decide to go and check out the caves. Why don't you tell us about the caves, Justin?
Well, a while back I was with Stacy Brown, and we were walking, and we saw a Bigfoot that crossed the road in front of us during the daylight, and it ran south or whatever it was. So we decided to follow it. We follow these tracks, and they lead us to this rock croppings that's on the edge of a hill. That's they're like somewhere in between a cave and a den. They're definitely not a real cave, but I mean, some of them are 8x10, some are pretty big. So you just see this black spot on the side of the rock, so then you have to get to them. And so just to walk around up there was difficult. I mean, you are on the edge of a very steep mountain. It is, to get 20 steps could take 5 minutes. I mean, it is very difficult terrain. I cannot stress that enough. And so
notice that the Reverend Jeff stayed his ass with the Jeep.
Yeah.
So every time I've gotten down there, I've looked up. So you go down as far as you can picture yourself walking back up. But I've never made it to the bottom. So I go down pretty far. You're dropping in elevation a lot. And then you turn around, you're on the side of this mountain, and you can look and see all the black spots. And all the black spots could represent a home that Bigfoot would use, like a cave.
Mhm.
It could not, also.
Yeah, that was actually one of the more like I won't say disappointing. You know, I did it because I would have loved to have gone down there with you guys, but one of our campers just did not seem like he wanted to go over. Like maybe a problem with heights or something, and so I wasn't going to leave him there like like half a mile away from the vehicles on the top of this ridge or whatnot by himself. I would love to have gone and gone down there with you guys, but it was cool. I actually got to sort of survey the top of this ridge line and go crawl down and look at a bunch of the areas, and there's definitely the freakiest part for me in that situation is that we approached this drop off from the top, which would be like the getaway point of a lion, if you will. And all I see are like pea marks, and lion scat, and this whole area belongs to a mountain lion. And because of the way that we came up on it, it was probably still there the entire time we were there, which is kind of a freaky thought. We never would have seen it because they're like ghosts, But there wasn't a really good escape point, so it probably just went and hunkered down somewhere, and we just luckily didn't come across it, which is a cool. I mean, it's kind of a cool thing. I mean, that's how well something can hide in this unvegetated drop off with a bunch of rocks in it. It's easy to hide in these sort of areas if you're used to that environment, but that particular area, especially that top area, definitely belonged to a lion, and if it's perfect. If I was a lion, I would hold on to that, and I would not let anybody take that away from me.
That little skull cap you found with the deer kill.
Yeah, we found a skull cap with antlers that had been chewed away. It looked like definitely a lion
Did it
kill.
get left behind, or did you guys take it with you?
I think after the epic walk that Justin and Cameron took, they didn't end up coming back with us. But yeah,
Are you serious? I've been wondering. Okay, so it got taken out of the car because it smelled. I understood that. That was fine. Except I walked with it like 4 miles. Literally.
So where did it get left? Did it get left up at camp, or did it get left down there?
I just realized, right, David, it must be still right at camp in that spot.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. So it's definitely.
You'll have to remember. Look, it's probably gone. We'll see.
I got to go back up there.
You were carrying it. You were carrying it. We separated.
Right. Well, you had your camera, so it just made sense that I carry it because I wasn't carrying anything.
Yeah. And
I was carrying it so you would take it back to your home and have it as a paperweight for the rest of your life.
There it is.
There it is. See what happens?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So we go and investigate these areas, and we get back to camp, and we had stopped and had some. Dude, we had breakfast. We ate a lot. It passes. We were just so sick and tired of being out there, but finally we get back up to camp, and I want to say that was Saturday evening. We had another camper come and join us, and you guys started looking all around camp again. What did we find when we came back from our little outskirts?
We came back, and I decided I did this every morning. I walked all over the place looking for prints. David did the first day, but when we got back to camp, I was really adamant that we were going to go look for prints because that knock I heard last night was too much. So. Me and another camper walked up. He walks up. He goes, "What are you doing?" I say, "I'm gonna go look for prints." And we must have walked 4 steps, and both of us go, "Whoa, what's that?" And we look down, and we see what looks like a perfect bare foot on the ground. And then we called people over, and everybody took a look at it. Probably stepped in all the other prints, but we found. I'd say. Maybe for me it was 2 to 3 that were very interesting, and the rest were halves and theirs. And use your imagination for this one, and use your imagination. But there were 2 to 3 that were very interesting to me, and one in particular, you could actually see what I thought were toes go in, and you can see in between the dirt that would have gone into the toes and it lifted up. And that right there, the impression you're showing right there, I believe that's the one that's just a plain barefoot right there. And you measured it, David?
Yeah, it not a science. It was a pseudoscientist's measuring device. I took a stick because this is an area that we were collecting firewood from. There were like our footprints all over the place, and so I measured it from toe to heel. Broke off the stick at the length of that. Held it up to my shoe, and it was an exact size 12. So it, like, yeah,
not shoe, foot. Like the actual foot was as big as a 12 shoe with the outside and everything. That was one mistake. I mean, they said that's an actual foot. If it's the foot, then it's pretty interesting. If it's a shoe, then no. But
yeah, well, but yeah. So what where I'm coming from this, and I was pretty honest with you guys, is like this. You know, like I understand how it looks, but there's a very slight possibility that this could be a Sasquatch when there's probably 30 to 40 other footprints that are ours, that are mine, that are exactly the size of my foot right here. That's the way my brain works. I can't just let that be anything other than my foot.
And that's plenty okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're all sitting around looking at this thing, going, "Does anybody have plaster? Does anybody have plaster? Anybody? Did anybody bring any drywall mud? Did anybody bring any hydrocal? Did anybody bring anything?" And you know, unfortunately for us, nobody had a lick of squat to be in. I mean, it was rough, man. So, tell us, Justin, what was the concoction that was tried?
Ingenuity is the mother of invention. I'll just say that.
I had a lot of stuff. I just didn't have the right stuff. I mean, I had all kinds of tools and this and that. And so I took my drill bit and put it in a bucket, threw a bunch of toilet paper, water, and toothpaste, and salt, and I don't know, something else. Mixed that all up and tried it. I was getting it to dry in small pieces pretty good. So battered it up. Casted it. It laid down real nice. It was like a liquid, and it started to harden, and it was looking good. So we're like, all right, cool. We'll leave it overnight. So we come back the next day, and unfortunately, it was still a little damp.
It was like fluff.
So I left it, and so somebody's gonna find that for sure because there's I left the drink next to it, like just to. So either somebody's going to go up there and be like, oh, I'm not going to camp here because there was a Bigfoot here, or they'll be like, oh, we found the Bigfoot spot.
Yeah.
One way or the other, it's going to definitely set somebody up.
I'm going to get back up there. Then apparently I need to pick up David's deer mount, like the Porky. So I need to pick up the deer horns, send that to him, and then I need to pick up that cast that's hopefully hardened.
Yeah, at that point.
Yeah. We had the pseudoscientist's opinion, and we had my opinion. And what was your opinion on the prints themselves, Justin?
They look pretty good.
It was good enough. It was good enough for us.
That's like
a 4-hour round trip to go get some plaster.
Now, do you think there were two, Justin, or one good one,
do
or
I think
maybe
that was from a Bigfoot? I'm not sure.
Yeah, same here. I'm a little
but they looked pretty good. And I would love to. I mean, there was enough. There was a couple tracks. There was enough that you could cast them and you could look and you could see. I mean, it was the perfect situation.
Now, whatever this was, we kind of looked where the path that it walked was, and it would have been right next to the good Reverend's hammock there. So maybe he went up and gave you a little tickle at night and
give you a little bubbles belly tickle, huh? Tickle, 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 tickle. Oh my God! You know, that's kind of the freaky thing to think about. Now, okay, we're not saying that it was a Sasquatch because none of us saw it. Now we'll get to that in just a minute, but. Well, we didn't see what left these tracks, but if this thing did come up and take an eyeball at me while I was in my hammock, that's kind of a little creepy. I'm not afraid of it because I sleep with a couple of blades and a 3 million volt stun gun. I don't think I'm going to have a problem getting away from it, but you know that didn't stop me from going to bed that night. I mean, literally, you know, come time to lay down, it was all right. See y'all in a little bit. You know, I'm going right back to my hammock, and lay down. Saturday night got a little more creepy though. Is that what happened?
Whew. It's a little. I mean, if you guys want to start first and tell your Saturday night, because for me it was a little more than creepy.
David, to start out the Saturday night for us. It goes dark. The old Reverend heads to the hammock to listen for Bigfoot sounds. What happens after that?
I stay up till almost 1 in the morning to listen to Bigfoot sounds and you know, just be up, try to do the thing, and I have to go to bed. I just, you know, I have a long drive, and yeah, there we go.
So you're sitting around the fire with who then at that point, Jonathan?
I'm sitting with was it James?
James?
His name's I'm sitting with James, and we were the last two up, and he stayed up with me till about 2:30, and he finally says, "You know what? I'm going to turn in." And I'm like, "Okay." And Justin let me borrow his thermal imager a couple nights. So James goes to bed, and as he's getting in there, we hear a pretty strange noise off in the distance, and on that ridge that we were camping next to, that we explored a lot, and there was this little flat spot on the side, and we would say, I have it on my GoPro video that we all said, oh, you know, this looks like if something were to walk in from this ridge, it would maybe walk in somewhere around here. And
it would have been a really easy access from the other area of like the downside on the, I don't know if that's east or the west at that point, but if you're looking up the hill to the left, that would have been a really
north.
easy. Yeah, it would have been a really easy access. Okay, from the north on the left side of the ridge.
Yeah, our camp was actually set up exactly north, south, east, west because the sun would come up over one ridge and go down over the other ridge at night. So that was definitely north. South was behind us coming down into the road that we came into. But you know, so he goes to bed, you hear some strange noise, and you're looking through the thermal, and what do you see?
Yeah, it's all on the entire thing is kind of on audio, and I say on audio because I was recording it with my GoPro.
And it's going to be coming out in the expedition movie. And we're still cutting all that together.
And it's very, yeah. I don't sound too Stelios about things, do I? I'm definitely not I'm not the bully perceived there. So I started looking around with the therm. You know, with those things you can see whatever you want to see through them, but so you know you would stop and look at something and you know, okay, it's not doing anything. You keep going, but I noticed this one spot and it was enough for me to go, that's weird. And as I watched it, I noticed that I was about to turn away from it, and I see what looks like leg separation just opened, and that's when I just froze and started freaking out. And then I told you guys in the morning that whatever it was I watched for about 30 to 40 seconds, but going back on the audio, it was just under 2 minutes. And what had happened was I'm sitting there watching it, and it starts taking kind of steps in place, little steps, and it takes a step like if it's gonna go forward and gonna go back, and I'm kind of trying to narrate the thing, and I put the GoPro up to the thermal lens a couple times, and it just wasn't working out. And I start right there, right through that. I don't know if it was the opening to the left of my finger where that you see that tree with moss, or what I'm pointing at. I couldn't pin it down because I'd have to see it again through a thermal, and I couldn't gauge size. But I started doing that, and as soon as I started taking steps back and forth, it freaked out. I start going, Justin, because Justin's sleeping in his cot next to me. He's not waking up. Justin is one of the deepest sleepers I've ever met in my life. I've only known him for 2 days, but I start, and I'm sorry for this, I start kicking his cot. I give him a good 3 whacks, good ones too, harder each time. And I hear, and I'm like, it's walking, it's there, and I start freaking out. So I watched this thing for a while.
And that's only 40 yards from the first tent, by the way.
Yeah.
The first tent is only 40 yards from that gap. The second tent, the rest of them are within feet of everybody else's. I mean, we had a nice little tent city going on, but that's only 40 yards off.
And it wasn't something questionable that it could have been. It looked like it was a human figure standing there, just standing there. And then I watched it for over 2 minutes, and it looked like it was looking at me, back at me, trying to see what I'm doing. Like almost like when someone looks at you and you kind of get caught and you stand still. And I think that's what it did. And then it just took this step back into the ferns. It took this big step into the right where that flat spot goes down, because I walked there in the morning. It goes down there, and it just walked on in. So the back leg and the arm just out, and you almost see fingers. I mean, it was so vivid. And I stepped back into there, and I lost my shit. And I started just. I think the whole second half of the 16-minute of audio I sent was just me heavily breathing, kind of flipping out, and
Todd standing style with the flare going off.
That's exactly very similar to that. Yeah, it was so. I don't know. I was kind of stunned after that, and after that I stayed up for the rest of the night looking for it, and I can hear sounds here and there, probably forest sounds, but just looking back and forth. So for me, I am 110% that what I saw was a Sasquatch right there. And I'm pretty confident in saying that after 2 days of letting it process in my head, and I can still remember exactly how it looked and what it was and its characteristics. So
you know, and just like with ghost hunting or monster hunting or anything else, unfortunately, it's one of those personal experiences. We don't have any hard evidence that anybody else saw that was able to discern for sure that there was a Sasquatch standing there. But I don't have any reason to doubt what you think you saw. I know that there are Sasquatch that roam those hills. It's why we went there in the first place, was to see whether we could get something on that side of the mountain to respond to us.
I really wanted Justin to just jump up and grab the thermal and go, I see it too. You know, and that's what I was going for, because I was the only person up, and yeah, that's what we're stuck with.
So I was conscious. I mean, I did wake up. I just was like, you're seeing Bigfoots. You're real. Yes. I mean, all right.
And he told me in the morning, he goes, last time that, we filmed them, he goes, same thing happened. He said, who was it, Roe and
it was
Sean?
No, during Bart's thermal.
Yeah.
They were trying to wake you up.
Justin was sleeping during that, too, yeah.
Yeah. No, they wake me up and they say, we're filming Bigfoot. So I'm like, I know.
Okay, go back to sleep. Once Justin decides that that's it, boy, that's it for him. He is just done. I know how that goes, because the mountain does not like me. That is for sure. Now, David, what are your thoughts on the personal experience that Jonathan had?
Well, it's just that the thermal that we were using does not have a record capability. You can't really. You tried. You put the GoPro up. GoPros are. I've tried doing some macro photography with GoPros before. It just doesn't work at that close of a range at all, and it never will. It's not designed to do that. So it is just that. It's a personal experience, and nobody can take that away from you, even if all of my poo-pooing here and there. But I didn't get that experience to tie all of the other things together. So what I hear is just a bunch of stuff that I normally would expect to hear in the woods, or I have some very tall trees and other things like that in my backyard, and coyotes and all sorts of other stuff. So those are the types of things that I experienced up there. Whether I'm rationalizing that away or not, but that's what those are the things that I would expect to hear up there. But then there's these other aspects of it that I can't, comment on, because that's not my experience.
I didn't hear the tree knocks. I heard no tree knocks at all. Why? Because, my butt was getting whipped by the altitude, so I was gasping for air and sleeping. However, we did have a recorder running most of the time that we're up there, and most of the things that were captured at night are on that recorder, and we're just waiting to get in contact with the guy that has the recorder so that we can actually work with those files. But we will definitely get that ahead and get that into the movie pretty soon. Well, guys, we're going to have to get this wrapped up this evening. Now, we get through the rest of the night, Saturday night. And, of course, Sunday morning is always expedition breakup. Everybody gets up, has a little bit of something to eat, breaks everything down, sits around and kind of has a chance to soak things in. And overall, Jonathan, was it worth the 12-hour drive up there?
It would have been worth a cross-country drive for that last night that I saw the thing. But even taking that out of it, it was still just awesome. The people that we hung out with were really nice, and it was really interesting how some of them were really into Bigfoot. Some of them had just like watched an episode of Finding Bigfoot and seeing all the interesting perspectives, and meeting Justin and hearing stories, and it was a really, really neat weekend.
I 100% agree. Justin, how'd you feel about the outing altogether?
Oh, I had a lot of fun. I can't wait to get back. That hike down to the caves, that was where it was at.
Dude, that was a 3-hour. We were starting to worry about you.
Right, but we had to cut it short. I mean, like that. We were down there, and we're like, oh, this is taking a lot. All right, shit, we gotta head back. I can't wait to get right back there, do the same thing, except go.
You ought to do a camp out right there with some of the trusted people. That way
you can't even stand over there. It's like
well, I mean,
straight
over
up and down.
Right. I mean, but I meant camp from that area. But yeah, overall, I was extremely happy. David, what was your final thoughts on the overall camp out, man?
I had a blast. It was good times. It was good people. I love just being out in the woods, and I love when my cell phone doesn't work. That's the best. we drive back down. We drive back down the hill, and I have like 100 email notifications from work, and I'm just like, I'll just turn it off. It's fine. Check in with the girlfriend and turn it off. It's it was good. I really enjoyed the people. It was fun. The one thing that I kind of struggled with, and this is something I'll say on air, is I come out and I go with that super skeptic thing, and I just sort of like let go of that at some point, and I feel like it's kind of unfair for me to come on and like poo-poo on everything on the show here. When I did that at the beginning, but maybe at the end, I was just like, God, I'm such a buzzkill. I'm no fun, and so I kind of let go of that. And I don't know that that's fair to come on and kind of like just say, well, I just thought I heard forest sounds now or whatnot.
You didn't want to be Renee.
Yeah. Maybe I just didn't want to be Renee. I mean, but like in retrospect, I was like, God, should I have? Shouldn't I have? Having
a good skeptical mind is always important on expeditions like this. That way, Bigfoot dreams don't run away with the program.
I enjoyed bouncing my ideas off of you, and you come back with your super skeptic approach, and me saying, well, I almost felt like I was playing devil's advocate, but...
Well, I just, every time I would come to you with my ideas, like, I would always go to David and say, hey, so what do you think of this? What do you think of this? What do you think of this? And he's always way too far negative.
Yeah.
There's like a 5% chance that was a Bigfoot. And I'm like, dude, it was at least 40%.
Yeah, but that's how my mind works. I always say, like Sasquatch has got to come up to me and give me the big mushroom stamp on the forehead. I need Sasquatch to really cock slap me in the face and be like, dude. Next. Yeah. Next, no, I don't care if you have to shoulder bump the Sasquatch on the next time if anybody sees one, you just knock Sasquatch out of the way. You wake me up and be like, there it fucking is, David.
Well, hey, let's take a quick break for our tip of the week before we forget it. That's for sure. We never want to forget this. And now it's time for Rules to Squatch By with your old pal Wes.
Number 59 is brought to you by Captain Hindsight. Don't forget to bring your track casting kit when you go squatching. And if you can, try and pick yourself up 2 different kinds. You never know. With the weather being different, some things work better.
You failed, you big dummy.
Oh, and York, if you're listening, buddy.
Tip of the week brought to you by WesLosner.com. Go check out all of his squatchy art and tattoos and jars for sale at WesLosner.com. Well, guys,
what was that sound supposed to be?
That was fingernails on a chalkboard. Because that's
what's he saying? Is he saying like, hey, F you, or is he saying like, oh, kind of F you?
Well, no, Christopher York seems to think that the rules of Squatch By needs to go away because to him that they're like fingernails on a chalkboard, and the rest of us say, we love them and we're just going to keep doing them. So that's going to wrap it up for this edition of the Squatchers Lounge podcast. For Jonathan Stelio Contos,
thank you,
Justin, the Bigfoot Killer Smeha, and Dr. David Backdoor, pseudoscientist, I am the Reverend Jeff Kelly. We say thanks for watching. You ain't got to go home. You got to get the hell up out of here. Hey, the Squatch be with y'all. See you next time.
Danger zone.
It's gonna get me. It's gonna get me.
Not
I
with the
can't sleep.
Ghostbuster.
I can't sleep in my cot, man. Gotta get out my tent. The car's
So what
gonna
you did
save me.
with the fucking Sam Squinch.
That damn Sam Squinch, man, is gonna get me. Oh no, Mr. Sam Squinch, don't hurt me. Yo, pal West.